Hello and welcome to Lesson 6 at our look at learning Nobe OmniScope. In this lesson, we're going to talk about viewing multi-input sources across your scopes as well as snapshots. So let's get rolling by talking about multi-input sources. Now, how you've been familiar in the past with getting signals into OmniScope is through this window, but we're going to do things a little bit different in this lesson. I'm actually going to close the Connect To window. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate up here to the View dropdown and I'm going to open up the Input strip. Now once I do that, you'll notice that it opens as a floating window. And of course, as we know, we can dock this anywhere that we want in our layout. I'm just going to dock it over here on the left-hand side. Now you'll notice that right now the input strip is empty. It's actually telling us that it's waiting for us to give it a signal to bring in. What's important to keep in mind is this signal, again, could be anything. It could be a live signal, could be a video clip, could be a signal from a nonlinear editing application, much like it was when we did it from when we first launched OmniScope. So what we're going to do is we're going to navigate right down here to where our Connect New Source button is. I'm going to simply click on it and we're going to open up a new video file. Now I'm going to go back to my favorite file, our bees file. I'm simply going to say open. And as soon as I do, much like in the past, what will happen is the clip will open and start playing right away. Now you'll notice that I have the same signal on this source signal window, as well as both waveforms. Now I'm just going to call up the Playback Controls and we're just going to pause. And you'll notice that once I pause there, it pauses everywhere. Now this is obviously not what we're going to want in a multi-input setup, but bear with me and you'll see exactly how this is going to work in just a second. What I do want to do before we move on is draw your attention back over to the input strip to show you that we do have all of the information about the clip over here on the left-hand side, lower left-hand corner of that video file thumbnail, as well as having the ability to not only disconnect the video signal, but also to come down and get access to the clip or the input, more specifically, settings. You'll remember in previous lessons we'd navigated up to the Connect dropdown, came down to video file and selected settings, but again we can quickly get at it now by simply navigating right over here to the lower right hand corner of the thumbnail and clicking on the settings. What I want to do now is to bring in a secondary video clip. What we're going to do is navigate right back to Connect New Source. We're simply going to navigate down to video file and I'm going to select the scenery input and I'm going to say open. Now you'll notice that it appears here in the input strip but doesn't appear anywhere else. Well, there's a couple ways that we can now assign this video clip to specific source signals or specific scopes. One way to do it is to simply navigate, in this case over to the source signal window. We can right click, navigate down to input device and simply select video file scenery. You'll now see that that video clip appears inside of this source signal window. What I'm going to do is just call up the Playback Controls and I'm going to pause it. However, it didn't appear anywhere else. Now, much like I had just done with any scope, I can simply navigate down to the scope, right click and select the input device and choose the input device that I want to put here. Now, this is all very easy if I'm only dealing with a couple clips, but if I had, 10 different clips inside the input strip, this could get a little bit tedious, so there must be a faster way to do it. Well, there is. What I have the ability to do at any time is to simply grab any one of the video files and simply grab them and drag them and drop them wherever I want them to go. So I can just drag whatever I want, wherever I want, and that clip will then immediately be updated in that source signal window or in that scope, instead of having to right click constantly and navigate through all of the menus to do the exact same task. Now what I'm going to do is just drop my bees back in here and you'll now see that what we have is we have our bees inside of our source signal on the left and the waveform directly below it, and we have our scenery on the right source signal window and in the waveform directly below it. Now of course this can get to be a little bit confusing depending on how many windows you might have open. You might have all kinds of different scopes, waveforms, vector scopes. You might have histograms, you might have different source signal windows. So the question is, how do you keep track of everything when you now have all of these different windows on screen at the same time? Well, it's actually very easy. All you need to do is simply navigate back to the input strip, and if you hover over one of your input sources, in this case our scenery clip, you'll notice that it's highlighted as green, and you'll now notice over on the right hand side's source signal and waveform, those are now highlighted in green representing that that signal is going to those sources. Same with the Bs. You'll notice they're in red. You'll see they're now highlighted on the left. And you'll also notice, if you were paying close attention, that when I actually navigated over here and right-clicked and came to the input device, they are tagged by color here as well. So you can see how that concept travels through, whether you're dragging and dropping or whether you're using your sources menus. Alright, now before I wrap things up in this lesson, I want to talk a little bit about snapshots. Now, of course, that does beg the question, what exactly are they? Well, a snapshot is a way that you can get in and create still frame reference files if, let's say, hypothetically, you were the DIT on set on day one. They had a bunch of different lighting setups, so you have the ability to take snapshots of those different instances of lighting. So this way, if they need to come back and at any point recreate those lighting setups, you can show them a reference on the scope of exactly what the levels were on that first day they shot. So you can make sure that everything is done exactly the same way when they set it up again. Now that's just one example. There's so many different examples of how you could use snapshots, but let's just get in and let's show you how they work. What I'm going to do first of all is navigate up to the snapshots drop down and call up the snapshots window. Now you'll notice it appears as a floating panel. We can of course dock this on the right hand side like such. Because it is a dockable panel, you can place it anywhere in the interface that you like. And there are now a couple ways that we can get in and actually add snapshots. The first way, and probably the most obvious way, is to navigate right up here to the little camera icon that says, appropriately enough, grab a snapshot. Now as soon as I click it, you'll notice the new snapshot window appears up in the upper left hand corner for about 3 seconds, along with that snapshot appearing over here in the snapshots window. Now what I'm going to do is just jump down a little bit, just so we can get a few different shots in here. There we go. I'm just going to pause right there. I'll just take a snapshot of that. I'll just jump down again. We'll hit play. I'll just grab about 3 in total. I'll grab a snapshot there. Now, there is another way that we can grab snapshots, which is by using the keyboard shortcut of Command or Control and G. Now, once we've gotten in and created our snapshots, let's just jump down here to a different shot. Perfect, right there. What we now have the ability to do is a couple of things. Much like I had done in the earlier part of this lesson, I can actually take a look at the levels of any one of these snapshots by simply taking them and dragging and dropping them into any one of the interfaces like we had done before. Now you'll notice that it does say snapshot active. We haven't actually overwritten, for lack of a better term, the video signal that was there. All we've done is place the snapshot over top of it temporarily. So once I'm done looking at it, I can simply just click on snapshot active to switch back to the original input clip that was going to that scope. Now what we also have the ability to do is with any one of these clips, we can get in and with, let's just choose this one here as an example, I can now call up a side-by-side comparison of the two shots. I can also call up a horizontal wipe between the two shots, a vertical wipe between the two shots, and if I wanted to, I could actually do a blend between the two shots. As you can see, working with snapshots is a fantastic way to get in and see two input sources, whether they were shot on the same day, in the same hour, the same minute, or even days apart. This is a fantastic way for you to get in and reference two different shots on location or in the edit suite. So this way the client knows exactly what was going on differently between those two shots.